Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Good evening. You're watching the news from the Sultanate of Oman Television. First, the headlines. The European Asian Conference discusses vital skills and tests for early breast cancer detection. Royal Oman Police continues its efforts to provide a safe coverage for Oman International Rally 2014. And Nusra Front captured several villages in the Jebel al-Zawiya region of Idlib province. Those were the headlines. Now for the news in detail. The activities of Euro-Asia Conference continued by a workshop on spreading awareness among female community on breast cancer. More than 500 Omani women from various governorates of the Sultanate took part in the workshop, with the participation of a host of international medical consultants who presented more than 60 work papers on the topic. It aimed to equate the participants with ways and examinations that may lead to early discovery of breast cancer. Latest statistics issued by the Ministry of Health show that there are 147 cases of breast cancer in the Sultanate. Royal Oman Police, with its different divisions, are exerting continued efforts to provide security and safety during the activities of Oman International Rally 2014. The event is being organized by Oman Automobile Society, where participants from Gulf, Arab, and foreign countries take part in the event. Royal Oman Police efforts started earlier through coordination with the organizing committee. The Public Authority for Civil Defense and Ambulance deployed its personnel and equipment at various sites of the rally. Meanwhile, the Directorate General of Police Aviation also takes part in these efforts through providing a helicopter for air surveillance, while medical services at ROP are exerting efforts to provide medical first aid for participants. The Directorate General of Social Development in the Governorate of Dakhiliya organized a child dialogue within the activities of the Family Forum, conducted by the Directorate during this period and held at the Higher Judiciary Institute. Dr. Mohammed bin Sulaiman al-Rashdi, Dean of the Institute, presided over the forum. 80 male and female students representing schools of the Governorate took part in the dialogue. A number of officials from some government bodies were also hosted. Aspects of the dialogue covered a number of topics, mainly children's knowledge on the specialization and services rendered by the hosted institutions and to what extent the child is interested is achieved, children's needs in the regulations of those institutions, children's aspirations in programs and services of those institutions which haven't been achieved yet, and children's suggestions and ideas to develop, update, and amend such regulations and work systems. The total insurance premiums during the first half of 2014 stood at 226.8 million Omani Riyals, according to unaudited financial statements for that period. The quarterly report for the insurance sector released by Capital Market Authority stated that the sector achieved a growth in total value of insurance premiums during the first half of 2014 compared to the same period of 2013 at a rate of 8.8%. Despite the uneven growth rates, however, most insurance branches have registered good growth during the first half of 2014, except property insurance, life insurance, and other insurances, as those branches declined by 5%, 5%, and 4% respectively, while health insurance topped the growth rate with 30%, followed by engineering insurance with 16%. Psychiatry patients and ways to deal and care for them was the center topic of Mental Health Initiative. The initiative came to activate the role of private sector along with government bodies in supporting mental health in the society. A fine art exhibition was held on the sideline of the event, which showcased the suffering of psychiatric patients and their social problems. Still to come in our news bulletin. Struggle and sacrifice are on the front line of Italy's Mare Nostrum. Welcome back to the news from the Sultanate of Oman television. Iraqi Kurdish forces armed with heavy weaponry and deploying across the area headed to the west of Kobani today. The Peshmerga forces arrived with heavy weapons to help Syrian Kurds fend off attempts by Daesh insurgents to seize a Syrian town and cement control in the Turkish border region. US-led airstrikes hit Islamic State positions around Kobani yesterday in an apparent effort to pave the way for the heavily armed Kurdish contingent to enter. Daesh militants affiliated to Al-Qaeda seized the last remaining stronghold of Western-backed rebels in Syria's northwest province of Idlib today, after days of fighting and rebels, a monitoring group said. Backed by other hardline groups, the Nusra Front are waging a major military campaign against the Syria Revolutionaries Front, led by Jamal Maruf. In the past few days, the Nusra Front captured several villages in the Jabal al-Zawiya region of Idlib province, and today it entered the village of Dir Sunbul, the stronghold of the Revolutionaries Front, forcing Maruf to pull out. German Chancellor Angela Merkel told Russian President Vladimir Putin that Sunday's planned elections in eastern Ukraine were illegitimate and would not be recognized by European leaders. Sunday's separatist poll is aimed at electing leaders and a parliament in a self-proclaimed autonomous republic. Italy confirmed the end of its search and rescue operation Mare Nostrum, responsible for saving tens of thousands of boat migrants stranded in the Mediterranean Sea. More details in the following report.
Mission accomplished for Captain Giuseppe Maggio and his crew. They have saved 260 boat migrants, including a number of women and children who had got into difficulty off the Sicilian coast. This time it all went smoothly, but it's not always the case. The captain of the Fiorillo has also had to recover the bodies of those lost to shipwrecks. No easy task for a young father.
I have two young girls, and it's sometimes hard to reconcile your home life with what you have to do at sea. Sometimes things happen. We give everything we've got to make sure no one dies. But there are so many arriving that unfortunately there have been some shipwrecks.
Syrians, Ghanaians, Gambians, mothers, fathers and children plucked from the sea are now safe and sound. They are hungry and thirsty, and some don't even have shoes. Once they've passed a medical check, they are identified and put on buses to a welcome centre. At the port of Palermo in Sicily, aid workers have lost count of the numbers of arrivals over the past few months.
What we do becomes routine, but what we feel does not, because it's always different. It depends on the people we take in, if they're children or not, the women. It depends on their stories. They are all different.
And sometimes those stories are difficult for the volunteers to listen to, with tales of women raped, children beaten, brothers drowned during the crossing.
Everything you give is paid back when a child smiles at you and when you get a simple thank you very much.
With the end of Mare Nostrum, the Italian operation launched a year ago to aid migrants at sea, there are fears the number of shipwrecks could rise. Over 3,300 people have died during the crossings this year alone.
In a year, we've saved over 100,000 migrants. We, the Coast Guard, did this before Mare Nostrum, and we'll continue to do so, waiting and hoping for coordination on a European level. That's what we all hope for.
And indeed, a brand new mission dubbed Triton is set to begin soon. From November the 1st, 8 European Union countries are providing boats and planes for the operation, which will be run by the EU border agency Frontex. Alongside it, the men and women of Mare Nostrum will continue to put themselves on the front line to help save lives.
Now for the general weather forecast. Clear to partly cloudy skies will prevail over the governorates of Muscat and North Sharqiya, with cloud accumulation and chances of rain over Hajar Mountains and the adjoining areas. Rest of the Sultanate will have clear skies with a possibility of dust-raising wind over parts of the desert areas. Winds will be northeasterly light to moderate over most governorates of the Sultanate and active along the coast of the Arabian Sea. Seas along the southeastern coast will be rough with a maximum wave height of 3 meters, while it will be moderate over the rest of the Sultanate's coast with a maximum wave height of 1.5 meters. This is the Sultanate of Oman television. Before we end tonight's bulletin, here are the main points once again. The European Asian Conference discusses vital skills and tests for early breast cancer detection. Royal Oman Police continues its efforts to provide a safe coverage for Oman International Rally 2014. And Nusra Front captures several villages in the Jebel Azaria region of Idlib province. With that, we come to the end of tonight's news bulletin. From all of us here at the newsroom and the studios, it's good night.